Hello everyone, back with another video. It's going to be a new series I'm starting. It's going to be called Lectures on the Body, Mind, and Soul. So today I want to talk about a couple of things. One, as to what we refer as the unclasped hand of intelligence. And so we ask, what is this unclasped hand? It's not focusing. Unclasped hand of intelligence. What is this unclasped hand of intelligence? Well, what this unclasped hand of... I don't get why it's not focusing. There we go. Okay. So what we refer to as this unclasped hand of intelligence is the process in which we as human beings become disassociated with the self and ultimately become one with the universe. So imagine this is your hand, right? This is your mind, right? This is your mind. And this is the universe. You can say like this is like sand, right? Universe is sand, sure. When you put the sand, when you try to hold on to the universe, when you try to control it, you're gonna tighten it up, you're gonna squeeze it so hard, right? It's gonna pressurize, it's gonna turn into a rock, right? It's gonna keep on getting harder, immobile. It's gonna become super compact that you cannot change the simple structure. And so, ultimately, what we as human beings want to do is open up this hand so the sand can come out of the hand. And this is what we consider intelligence. This is intelligence. It's not focusing. Okay, this is intelligence. When you become free, when your mind becomes free, so that sand can slowly come out of your hand. What are you left with? You're left with nothing. You're left with nothing. But what comes from nothing? Everything. The idea of yin and yang. It's a simple concept. It's a simple concept. But for us to ultimately let go of our thoughts, the universe, when we want to let go of control, we have to relax. We have to relax and let be. We have to relax. This doesn't mean that you can influence. This doesn't mean that you can have control over the things that you can control. However, what it does mean is that you're giving up the idea that this universe was made for you, that you are the universe. You're giving up that idea. I hate this focus, man. Come on. Anyways, you're giving up the idea that... You're giving up the idea that I don't like this, man. I don't like this at all. Okay, there we go. Anyways, yeah, so we have to let go. We have to let go of the universe, man. You just let it go. Relax. Relax. You have to understand. Death is a part of life. You know, when you let go of that universe, what do you think is gonna take shape in the palm of your hand? You know? Nothing. Death is considered nothing. To me. Life is everything. Death is nothing. Death is nothing. So when we die, who knows what happens? Who knows what happens? But it's okay because we let it go. We let it go. We let the idea that there's something after death. We let it go. Another analogy that I had picked up was The idea of the silver spoon. I'm gonna grab my phone because this was a conversation that I had with a woman, and you can find out so much just by watching yourself. So I'm gonna read these texts to you, and we're gonna go through what we discovered through our own being, through our own letting go. So, alrighty. So what we have here is chat with a beautiful woman. I'm gonna call her Z. So look at here. When we as human beings have to discover the dark parts of ourselves, when it becomes a necessity for us to discover the dark parts of ourselves, come on, man, come on. So when we discover those dark parts of ourselves, when it becomes a necessity for us to discover those dark parts of ourselves, we ultimately crash. So I'd like to read this line from this book, Collaborative Intelligence. So right here it says, most breakdowns are a result of habitual thinking. Most breakups are a result of habitual thinking. And most breakthroughs are a result of non-habitual thinking. So what does that imply with regards to the dark side of the human being? Well, first, we can take that the dark elements of our mind are not typically habitual thoughts. They're not technically habitual thoughts. But when they become conscious, we see the patterns in our life that were habitual and were associated with those thoughts. So those thoughts will come out. Those thoughts will come out as you break through. When you start living with the unclasped hand of intelligence, you're ultimately going to have extreme breakthroughs of non-habitual thoughts. Thoughts that have come from everywhere, like everywhere. And, this leads me to the next analogy. When those thoughts come out, what do we do? What do we do when those thoughts come out? This way? This is my thought, right? My thought came out. There's my thought. It's black. It's a black dot. And it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary, that black dot. But it's outside of me. Why is it outside of me? But why is it still inside of me, Why is it still inside of me? Well, is it my thought or is it not my thought? Is it something that I actually want to act upon? Or no? Is it just sham? If we took a spoon, a silver spoon, this is my spoon. If we took a silver spoon, we took newspaper, this is my newspaper, we wrapped it up like this. What do you see this as now? It's a silver spoon wrapped up in newspaper containing articles that contain any type of article that you can imagine. World War II headlines. 6 million people were put to concentration camps and unfortunately had, Or, let's say, just headlines. all these different headlines that constantly bombard us. They're going to be there. They're always going to be there. But what happens, excuse me, but what happens when we ultimately end up unwrapping the newspaper from the silver spoon? Well, there's this headline. Oh, funny comic. Oh, sports. Blah, blah, blah. What's left? What's in the center of all of the thoughts that you contain? A silver spoon. What do you do with a silver spoon? Do you feed yourself? Or do you first look into the spoon? Do you first look at your own reflection in the spoon? Please tell me, what do you do? Well, that is up for you to decide. What happens, do you think, if you eat from the silver spoon? It's gotta be cleaned. Silver spoon's gotta be cleaned. Silver spoon's gotta be cleaned. Because a silver spoon is impure. It's impure. This is our being. This silver spoon is our being. But when you look into that silver spoon, you can see your own reflection in that silver spoon. What do you think to yourself? Who is this person I'm looking at? Who is... What's beyond the reflection of what I see in the silver spoon? Who gave me this silver spoon? Let me read this. Excuse me. So, this is the silver spoon. This is us. But while everyone is looking into their own reflection, who is ever going to look into their own shadow? Can you see your own shadow into the silver spoon? Are you tough enough? Are you strong-willed enough? Are you courageous enough to see your own reflection? To see the shadow of your own reflection? That is real growth. The silver spoon is no longer something to look at as given to those who are fortunate, or those who have wealth. The silver spoon is no longer. We all have the same silver spoon within us to look at our own reflection. But who is going to be courageous enough to look at their own reflection? And who is going to be courageous enough to ask, why am I looking in this mirror? Why am I looking at my own reflection when I could be looking at my shadow? Who's going to be courageous enough? That is what intelligence, that is when intelligence becomes being. Now, I know this video was quite unorganized. It was quite all over the place. It was all over the place. And, I think all of us understand that someone's second YouTube video is going to be all over the place. However, what I want to summarize this whole lesson is the human being, what we possess that makes us human is ultimately impure. Ultimately. It will never become pure. We are impure beings. This is why we have consciousness. We are impure. We are impure. But who's going to be courageous enough to say that even though we are impure, we have special qualities of us, and we can see our own reflection. We can see us in the mirror. We can see our shadow. Who is going to be courageous? Who is going to take the step beyond what others take? You know? Take this with you. If you feel as though the articles, the news headlines are becoming much too loud, much too noisy, much too dark to see the brightness reflect off your own being in the silver spoon. Who, you know? Who is going to... I lose my own train of thought thinking about these things, but it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Once you take those news headlines, once you take those articles and say that, hey, this is darkness, man. I'm going to let my brightness reflect off this silver spoon. Regardless if it's impure. Regardless if it's going to tarnish over time. It's still there. It's still there. And I still have it with me. Let's take that into our daily lives every single day. We have a silver spoon to reflect in. When we don't want to take notice of the news articles, we always have a place to reside. And always a place to be.